different. Doc is on he's doing a seminar or something like that, so I wanted to see if I can do this by myself. But one of the main things I want to say, you might not be hearing any voices. I want to shout out, if you're gonna have anybody being notified, I want to say that, thank you for watching us all the time for everything else. And I wanted to see what people was doing and how boundaries are finding. Usually I would sell my screen. I wanted to do a reaction video, but the topic of the day is women and boundary myths. So it's gonna be kind of cool. I mean, you might be able to listen to me. You might be able to, we're going to go over certain things, but all I want to say, what if I told you that building stronger relationships actually mean building more walls? When you're having integrity, when you're figuring out something that you want to do and something that you want to do with your life, and you want to be able to draw the line with your relationships, your friendships, anything else, you have to have a deeper connection with yourself and with other people, because if not, people are just going to run all over you. You mean a lot of the times you just go on with life, not having no boundaries, basically doing things for nothing, and you're not knowing exactly your worth. If you watch some of my TikTok faceless videos on YouTube and stuff like that, everything is about confidence, boundaries, setting limitations, being able to do things for yourself so that you can stick around to discover how defining your limits and unlock surprisingly how you would say for other people to react to you, how to treat you, how to figure out ways to make it more appealing so that you can communicate together. Take your relationships with your spouse, your kids, and everything else. If you don't have boundaries, you're just letting people walk all over you. If you're not setting establishment for, like, say, trust, maybe intimacy with other people you care for about the most, right? It's not gonna do you any good. Thank you for inviting me, guys. If you wanted to drop any kind of questions about relating to yourself on boundaries, and if you've seen some of my past stuff, I didn't set boundaries for myself when I was doing criminality. I did learn about boundaries when I went to prison for 14 years for a federal sentence. And I did, coming from Hawaii, we didn't have no really good upbringing. So, a lot of the times you just figure out a way so that you can do things for yourself. But setting boundaries for yourself might be the best thing for you to do, because if you're not doing it, like I said, the faceless videos on my YouTube channel and TikTok on this channel is all about motivational stuff so that you can move on with whatever you got going on. And you might be going through some shit right now. Shit happens, right? But at the same time, you got to figure out a way to set boundaries for yourself, to get confidence, to be able to do things. If you do not know how to do that, you will not gain the confidence. You'll live in anxiety. Will do a lot of the stuff that you don't want to do because you want to seek outside validation, maybe through social media, your friends and stuff. One of my friends just did a video on a podcast the other day, and he was talking about sometimes you just have to leave your friends alone because they're not respecting your boundaries, your limitations, the line in the sand that you don't want to be treated that way. You mean, even if your relationships are strained, could be friendships, could be a lot of different things, but the best way to do it, you might be missing that crucial piece of the puzzle. Sometimes you don't have to do much but set that limitations and gain your confidence. And guess what's going to happen, guys? When you set those things, people are going to treat you way better, because they just are not used to, let's take this one. We're going to take this one because a lot of times they just don't know what they're doing. You might not be there. Listen to this.
You having boundaries with the woman. So it's saying you go into a relationship and saying one of my boundaries is that I'll be respected. If I'm not respected, then I'm not in a relationship. Another boundary that I would have is like, I'm not okay with you communicating with ex-boyfriends or DMing dudes. One of the things that's going on in society that's really destructive is men are being feminized to not have boundaries. And you see these reels all the time where like they're asking the boyfriend or girlfriend,
right,
are you guys in a relationship? And the girl won't say yes. The dude's like, yeah.
Now we'll talk about that. Do you believe that men, say you had your spouse, is it okay for your other half to DM on the side and open the door for your girl you're dating and to get them to let them to be able to talk to other guys. If you're not respecting yourself and you letting it go, that's not going to get you nowhere. And I seen another post somebody is saying, like, I get this person saying, I get no respect. It's because you don't get no respect because you're not setting boundaries for yourself and the people you have interaction with. Boundaries is not a bad thing. I mean, this is why you see my banner back there, Boundaries and Brotherhood, because at the end of the day, your boundaries that you set for yourself propels you to certain things in the future because you get to determine how people treat you, trust you, and if not, let them go. You know what I mean? Carrie just talked about it the other day. You know what I mean? And here's another comment. I'm not cool with a woman talking to any man outside of her family because it ain't right, because they're doing something else. And you know how men get. Men want to get something else from other women. And if it's not natural. With boundaries and look at this comment. With boundaries and discipline, oftentimes the men that do lack discipline and boundaries are the ones that will accuse you of being insecure and jealous. We can go tit for that on a lot of different things with that, but that comes to being a masculine modern man that's going to protect and provide and a lot of things, because a lot of times people don't even get that nowadays. Let's listen to more of this.
As a man, if you want to be a man and if you want to have a healthy relationship with a woman, you have to have very clear boundaries that you don't bend. Because again, I say this all the time, the most important relationship you have is with yourself. It's not with a woman, it's not with anybody else, it's with yourself.
Let's talk about that for a minute. How many of you have sat in a prison cell? How many of you have sat and just had thoughts to yourself? How many of you have sat on multiple bunks, looking down 15, 10, 20 years of your life being gone? Many, many years I've sat on bunks thinking how I'm going to change. And one of these is having boundaries and being happy about myself. Every crime I committed, every drug I used, everything I did in my businesses was all to have validation for myself to say I'm doing the right thing. Which in actuality, it was just killing me softly to the point where I was facing down 22 years in federal prison. Like when you see all these people in the modern day dating, and they don't have relationships because they don't have a relationship with themselves. Having a relationship with yourself when making yourself happy is the number one thing, because everybody else is bonuses in your life. My kids are bonuses, but they don't make me happy unless I'm happy. I don't make them happy unless I'm okay with myself. How do I do it? I set boundaries for myself, and at the same time, I get rewards. It couldn't be no farther from the truth where you figure out that until you set these things for yourself, people will just keep running over your business, your job, your manager, your coworkers, everybody else. That if you don't set those out to get, you might as well just chalk it up, right? Let's listen to another one.
Like yourself and you respect yourself. The only way you're going to like and respect yourself is if you have boundaries. That gives you some character, that gives you principles, gives you value. It gives you...
Repeat that. Character, respect, boundaries, everything. A lot of the times, I'll be the first to admit, I screwed up on two of my kids with two different mommies back in my past when I was back in Hawaii, back in the 2000s. But part of redeeming myself is putting the boundaries and teaching my two boys right now how to be a modern man with old values. Having old values with men holding the door open for a woman at school, a little girl. These kids are 3 and 5. People respect me for that because you're teaching old values. And that's what we got to have. We missed that somewhere. When I watch some of these videos nowadays about the modern man dating and them getting sim, you got to go back to having your own values and your own self, not just for yourself, but also for your partner, right? Let's go.
Solid that a woman can feel comfortable building a relationship with. She doesn't trust a man that doesn't have boundaries.
Women don't trust a man without boundaries deep down. Because if you're a woman and you see your man getting ran over or doesn't have an inclination that he's going to protect you, what is he there for? It could be other reasons. We could go to all kind of different stuff. But what happens when you don't understand, if you're a woman and your man doesn't have boundaries for himself, he's also not going to have boundaries for other people towards you. And that's huge. If Like Andrea always tells me, like, she goes, how many people have you, you've been in prison for 14 years. How many people have you done in? I don't talk about that kind of stuff, because the boundaries I have is when something happens to my family or my kids, I already know the outcome of what's going to happen because I know the consequences. I already lived it. When you live in that essence, you have respect for yourself, other people, and people in the prison. And we carry that out here with our family, our close friends, and the people we acquainted with. Because in there, if you don't have boundaries, I have 10 years to kill you. They have 10 years to get me. Right? But a lot of the time, you can have a conversation, because if you don't get along and you don't have respect, you just carry the same thing out in the world.
One of the primary
women, if you feel comfortable with your men because they do have boundaries, hit that like button, hit that share button, because I usually have Doc here, I usually have Carry On here, but they're off and about. But I just wanted to say thank you for joining me. This is something that I usually interview people, but now I just got to go with the show because I told you guys 10 o'clock Thursdays. So I have another comment over here, right? So as a man, do I need to set boundaries? Yes. A lot of times, boundaries will get you respect, confidence, trust within yourself, and at the end of the day, you can get away from looking for outside validation. If you look at all of our past videos on Boundaries and Brotherhood in the playlist, this is why I bring Carrie in. This is why I bring Doc in. This is why I bring other guests in, because that's part of the puzzle I took a long time to figure out. Because you don't want to be the person not setting limitations for people towards you, your family, and what you're teaching your kids, your family, and everything else.
Blossom into her feminine energy. She has to feel safe and she has to feel secure. She will never feel safe and secure with a man who doesn't have boundaries. She just won't.
Women, do you agree with that? If you are a woman and you figure out that you can run over your man, how much respect do you have for him later? How much disrespect, or how much ways you're going to push him more in a way that makes it, I wouldn't say you in control, but you lose respect automatically. Boundaries that, men and boundaries that actually don't have a lot of things going on.
If a man expresses anger, he's toxic. If a man expresses fear, he's a coward. If a man sets boundaries, he's insecure. If a man expresses sadness, he's weak. If a man has standards, he's misogynistic. If a man shares...
Let's get my brother right here. But yeah, let's talk about this, because I want to talk about boundaries and how limitations set you as a man.
Then he's heartless. The conclusion is, you can never win. People will never be pleased with you. So do not fear what labels they give you. Just do what is right by you, your family, and your Creator. Nothing else matters.
And that is deep. A lot of the times people do things for the wrong reasons, for other people's secrets, for their happiness. The number one rule, guys, the number one thing you have to do is be happy with yourself. This is why I did drugs. This is why I did crime. This is why I was in gangs. This is why I fought. This is why I did other things, right? Because I wasn't happy with myself, and I was trying to find a purpose and feel good about myself with other people. But it doesn't make a difference, because at the end of the day, they will be gone. They won't be putting money in their books. They won't be helping you out on your job. They won't be giving you a job when you're looking for what's going on in the world right now. Yeah, you might be able to do this, but think about some of your closest relationships. How many times have you felt misunderstood? Was it because of you, or because how you didn't lay any foundation or boundaries in anything that you give to them? How many things that you didn't receive because it was misinterpreted and you felt a certain way, right? Let's listen to another one.
Female behavior, they're going to label it as insecure, toxic, misogynistic, or controlling. Anytime you put boundaries, standards, or on how women should behave, especially when it comes to their modesty, etc., if you put boundaries on it, as her man especially, they're going to say that's toxic, misogyny.
Now, this is where it gets interesting. If your woman, if your wife, if your girlfriend, if the person that you have a relationship labels that as toxic, she does not respect you, right? Now, if she respects you, if he or she respects you, right? It's a communication thing because you set a lot of those boundaries for what's got to do now, right? Mr. J. Crisolo, love you, my brothers. You know what I mean? This is what we do now, help other people get to where we need to be. And having the boundaries so that they don't have to do 20, 30 years in prison for like setting their boundaries. Once you set boundaries for yourself, life gets much easier. And I'm here to tell you, in fact, Jay, let's see what Jay, if you're not busy, jump on, see what you got going on. But I mean, boundaries helps us stay out of prison, makes us feel good about themselves without seeking anybody else for validation that we need to do. Yeah, we like to have a brotherhood, but are you today? It's counterintuitive to be bending over backwards for somebody that don't respect you. And if you don't respect yourself, it ain't gonna work. But I mean, let's listen to this one, guys.
Is untrustable. Here's why. They don't know what they want and need and are unwilling to communicate that. They're not standing against or for anything. They're often a people pleaser and very
passive. Where I come from, get you hurt. Because bottom line, that thing gets you hurt or gets you not where you want to be in life. No, this is why they have anxiety. This is why they kill themselves. This is why they have to see a psychiatrist or something like, because they don't know what to do because they haven't set those clear standards for themselves, which means they don't respect themselves. Guys, if you're struggling with certain things of that nature, reach out to myself, Doc, and Carrie. I mean, you can take an assessment free. I got a workshop, books, everything that I've created. Let's go boundariesandbrotherhood.com. Take the assessment, see where we're at, and see where we can figure out, because the sponsorships I have is not just certain things. It's a lot of things that can help you clear your head so that you can have the life you deserve. My whole goal is to help you gain the life you deserve by fixing yourself with the tools we have so that you don't have to go through this journey. Because if not, you get wiped out.
Means they're often abandoning self, overworking, under-resting, and lacking the capacity to be fully present with themselves and others. And due to this pushover nature, they're often frustrated with themselves and have a lot of built-up anger inside.
The anger that I have is all from built-up trauma from my childhood. Acceptance, being liked, being passed around, all that bullshit that comes along with it. But I just wanted to say, these are some of the things that you have to deal with. These are some of the things that Boundaries and Brotherhood that we work on with other men. So you have a safe space to actually do it, do the work, put something. I'm not saying, love you, my brother. I'll see you later. All right. One of just say Jay Crisolo, he just commented because he just did 20 years in federal prison. We're trying to get you in a place where you don't have to get this, especially for you young men out there.
It either comes out as aggression or it is swallowed internally so that you become bitter and resentful at the world for not honoring your space and requirements. And the truth.
And that's another thing. If you're not setting those boundaries clear, you will have aggression because these people that you think might be saying things that you didn't set them straight in the beginning. But at the end of the day, whose fault is it? Oh, it could have been, why didn't you think about my feelings? Because you didn't let them know. How come they treated me this way with disrespect? You didn't let them know. You didn't draw that line. And that's what some of the myths, because, you know, if you setting boundaries pushes people away, they wasn't meant to be around you regardless with this person, right?
Because if you don't have boundaries, then it's likely that you're sacrificing the depth of intimacy and connection that you could have with others because you are self-sacrificing and not showing up fully as yourself. It means you're tolerating, which means you're not giving everything that you have.
Oh, toleration. Now, tolerating bad behavior is a whole nother topic for another day. But I want to say that, we tolerating because you're just making excuses and justifying everything for yourself. When you start doing things and you start justifying for the other person, you in trouble, right? If you start making excuses for the other person and you're saying that, oh, maybe he'll get it one day, you are in trouble. You're making the type of excuses that your girl might be, you accept the things that he or she said, and you're saying that, okay, she'll get around this. You're in trouble. We got to put a stop to that, because even though it might be uncomfortable for you to do it in the beginning, it's something you must do. If you're a modern man and you're not learning this type of stuff, you should learn it. I mean, there's so many resources out there. But how do you build your boundaries properly is see who you are. See what you stand for. See what purpose you're driven. What kind of values are you providing? Write down what are your morals, what do you value in your life, right? How do you reframe those things so that these are your non-negotiables, right? It could be an example of you not being talked down to. You know, if somebody starts talking down to you, let them know. Let a motherfucker know, right? If this person is telling you, I want you to do things and taking advantage of you, let them know. You mean, because it could be from your family to your closest friend, even to your coworkers. You mean, if you have a coworker that's always running things over for you, and you're the person to like, okay, I'll do it for you, but do me the favor, and he keeps doing it. Now is the time to step up to the plate, step up with your game, and tell them what you really feel. Because if not, think about this: 5 years from now, it'll compound. It'll exponentially get worse, right? Let's listen to this one.
Have to the relationships and friendships around you. Boundaries are not a reason to be a dick. Boundaries are a loving transmission of what you're available for or what you're not available for.
Setting boundaries for yourself is not being an asshole or a dick, right? It's what you're allowing yourself, your soul, into what you will allow to not do. Now, if you're letting people do it, it comes back to you again. Like I said, when women start taking advantage of men, or other men taking advantage of men, vice versa, where it is, and you're not setting that parameters, who's going to lose at the end? Think about it. Who's going to lose at the end? It's going to be you. And a lot of times that you is going to pay for it somehow, some way, whether it's going to be in therapy, emotions, not getting the raise you want, because everybody wants to become a leader, but all leaders have boundaries. When you have a person that's unconfident, I can tell already, they didn't set boundaries for themselves. They haven't been taught it. They don't even know what the frick it is. That's one of those things that we have to talk about. That's one of the things we have to work on together as a brotherhood, because if not, somebody will take advantage of you. And I don't want that for you.
This might state the reason that you lack boundaries in your life is because you fear that if you express what you truly want you need, that others will reject you or abandon you. So you tolerate the breadcrumbs of life instead of having the whole cake.
Guys, I just want to jump on. Hopefully you guys can get back to this. If you're not setting boundaries and you're afraid of the situation that you might be in after, and you're just picking up breadcrumbs instead of the full stack, this is what you have to become. Because I hate to say it, when you set boundaries for yourself, you're going to push people away. When you set boundaries, you set